And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at a little game from Steve Finn, Dr. Finn, called Mining Colony. Now, Dr. Finn is best known for Biblios, makes a lot of little games. Sometimes I find them to be okay, and sometimes I find them to be quite fun. Now this game, one thing Dr. Finn does not do is he does not make games with very unique names. They're like Mining Colony. But that being said, this is a 1 to 4 player game. It says 40 minutes in the box, which is about right. And in this game, you are placing stuff on your board, trying to cover as many spaces as you can, but also to put out different science stations and other things. And the way you do that is by playing cards from your hand. There's not a lot here that I haven't seen before, with one exception, and I'll show you what it is in just a minute. Let's talk about scoring first. You're going to be filling up a colony here. You can use the basic side or the more advanced side, where you'll have some stuff already built, and each new thing you build is next to it. So you're kind of terraforming the land, so to speak. But on this land, you're going to be placing crystals. Crystals can go any station, although these stations can hold any color. This one here, for example, can only hold green. But each crystal you have in a station at the end of the game is worth a point. Then we have lander sites. They can hold ships, and they can hold a ship of any color. So here, for example, a blue one could go. Over here, for example, a black spaceship could go. And then we have pods where people can go into them. And so you'll have various pods. So this one, for example, a blue person could go here. Over here, for example, I could put a black one. It doesn't really matter. The different astronauts, they live in these habitats, and then you have these lander zones for the ships. These are also all 1 point at the end of the game. If you ever have a spaceship and a human being, one space apart, and the spot in between them is blank, then you get to put a station in between them. This is going to be worth 2 points at the end of the game. And the same thing is done with the different types of gems. So if, for example, you had a green gem here and a green gem on this side with a blank spot in the middle, I could put a green science spot there, and that's also going to be worth 2 points at the end of the game. And also at the end of the game, each spot that you don't cover up on your board is going to be worth -1 point. So that's how scoring works. How do you actually play? The game's going to take place over 10 rounds, and in each of these rounds you're going to turn over one of these cards. These cards are going to tell you exactly what to put in each of these 4 sectors here on the board. And if you're playing with only 3 players, for example, then you would ignore the 4th player one. If you're only playing with 2 players, you'd ignore half the card. So on these, there's different tiles. It will show you what shape, so that tile might go there. You just take the top one off the piles and put them in those spots. They might show you some crew members. So for example, this one here looks like this. There's a pink and a white crystal here, as well as a blue spaceship. Here we have a black crew member and a green gem. Here we have a black spaceship, a green gem, and a purple gem. So once you put everything out, people are going to decide which of those they want. Everyone's going to draw the top 3 cards off their own personal deck. These cards are numbered. Everyone has different numbers in their deck, but if you have the lowest number, you also have the highest number, and so on and so forth. You're going to pick one of these cards to play. The other cards are going to go back underneath your deck. And in this game, there's currency. If you ever get this currency, you can spend a credit to redraw the cards if you don't like them. Everyone will reveal their cards, and starting from highest to lowest, you'll pick one spot here on the board, and you're going to place it on your player board. I've already gone over the rules of placing things on your board. You're going to be able to, when you put down the terrain tiles, they have to go next to developed terrain already, so I have to put it next to this row here, although now that this is built, future ones could go next to that. When you get spaceships and astronauts, you're going to place them in the proper areas. You can save 1 spaceship, 1 gem, and 1 person for future turns. You can also say, I don't want something. You can turn it in to take a credit. If you turn in a whole tile, you'll get a credit for each spot in the tile. So this would get me 4 credits. Credits are used for a few things. You're going to spend them to redraw your hand of cards, but you can also spend them to take these tiles. These tiles can be placed in developed terrain. I might need to make something blank so I could put something in that spot, or I might want to put out a wild gem, a lander site, or another spot to put astronauts. So you'll be able to spend credits for those. That's it. You're just going to go through this 10 different times. Your board will be full. I've already explained how to score points. The only other thing is there's 6 points for the highest total of unplayed cards at the end of the game, and 3 points for second, 1 point for first. Most points is the winner. Lot of pieces in this game. Got the gems. These are not particularly amazing wooden pieces. You use one less of the science stations per game, but you know what? I don't mind them. I don't mind the graphics. The graphics are okay, but it works. These cards themselves are very useful. They're very easy to say this is what's going out each turn. There's a score pad that shows you how victory points work, and I thought that worked really well. I also got a little deck of cards here that give you some extra points to go for. It's called the mining colony objective. First person to do, place one ship of each color. Your mining colony gets 2 points. Very simple. I would play with these all the time, but it's pretty easy. The rules include a solo variant and are well done. So it's not an amazing looking product, but it's very functional and I had no problem with it. Timing is everything. That's the whole point here in Mining Colony. So the thing I mentioned at the beginning, the thing that Mining Colony does different than other games is where you need to have 2 things with an empty spot in between them, and when you do, you get to put a third thing out. Essentially going from 2 points, 1 for each of the things you put out, to 5 points, or 4 points, I'm sorry, to put the extra 2-point thing in the middle. That's doubling your points. So you want to do those, and you want to do that quickly. But doing it is the gist of the matter, and the timing comes down to this little hand of cards. Now, everyone has a high number in their hand. The good numbers go to 48, but the person who's 48 also has the 1. So they know for sure they'll go first on one turn, but they also know they will go last on someone else's the 47, 46, 45, and 44, and so on and so forth. I like that, because also keeping those numbers, if you keep high numbers in your hand and don't use them, you'll win those extra 6 points at the end of the game. And in this game, points are king. And you sit there the whole time and think, that's really the one I want. I don't know if anyone else wants that. Sometimes there's clearly a worse option from the 4. And at that point, you don't want to go last. But sometimes they might all be decent-ish. Or maybe you think that the one that's hot, you don't really want that one anyway, so maybe going second is not so bad. I find that to be a fascinating thing. You're also cycling your deck. You're putting the 2 cards you don't use back on the bottom to be picked up later. I am really curious about who made these cards. There's 10 cards. You shuffle them, you put them out, they show you what to put in each spot. But what was the mathematical formula to decide what shapes go in each one? They're made so that different things come out 1 and 2. I don't know. Whatever it is, I find that part of the game to be really fascinating. And this is a game that works really well. It's a little long to be considered what we call fillers, a game that's played between other games. It's more like the introductory game to the night, but it's at a really good length at 40 minutes. It keeps it from getting old, but it feels like a full game. If you convert time into money, I feel like you really do well. The amount of game you get in 40 minutes feels, it's stressful. You're sitting there and you're saying, how much, when's right then to play this number? I need to cover as many spots on my board as possible. Put these things here. Those science stations and things disappear faster than you might think. In fact, they disappear. They're almost always gone. I think around turn 9, there might be 1 or 2 left over. The game feels like it could possibly be 1 round too long, but that's a very minor quibble. I really like this game. The theme is okay, but it's just the act of trying to outguess everybody else to play the number to see who goes first, which is a mechanism I always like, and then placing these little polyomino shapes out there and trying to manipulate them because you can flip them over, but also using those credits. How often is there a game where I'm covering up a feature with a blank spot? This is a game that makes me do it, and I like that. This is the kind of game that I showed the other guys here in the studio, and they're like, I don't know. I said, play it, you'll see. And everyone was impressed by it. There's just something about it. Dr. Finn, when he gets it, he gets it. And in this game, he's got it. So this is one that I think some people might walk by because the name and the look of the game isn't tremendously attractive. But it's very fun and one that I like to play again. So that's Mining Colony. I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching the Dice Tower. Dice Tower Judgment approved.